Hey guys, what's up? It's Justin aka Diego, giving you some more info about some 4.1, 4.0.1, 4.0.1.964 to the 10th. Anyway, patch 4.0.1, a lot of shit changed. So I did a little brief overview on a lot of the stuff to kind of just get you guys semi-settled in. Kind of, because right when I first logged in, I was like, fuck. It's a whole new game. How do I play? And I'm sure all you guys kind of felt that like anxiety attack right when it happened. So, like I said on the description in that video, I am going to do a little bit more in-depth videos about all the things I briefly talked about. This video is going to be about mastery, and we're going to talk about mastery and a little bit about gear, because that was basically the most questions with this guy walking across my screen. What an asshole. That was basically the most commented, most question type answer or question comment on the video for my last video. So I'm going to do that and try to clarify any of the questions that were asked and stuff like that. So I want to talk, before we even get into mastery, I want to talk about gear just real quick because I briefly touched on it in the video. But just check over the gear that you have. If you don't know this already, a lot of the bonus armor gear, actually, I think every piece, and I'm not quite too sure about the trinkets, but every piece was nerfed. So the to your chest, to your gloves, the badge chest, the badge back, the badge belt, the badge legs, everything had armor nerf on it, which basically means you might have obtained something that was equal to it in item level, that had more health but less armor, so you decided to go with the armor because obviously having more armor was a good idea. But now it's got just a tiny bit more armor. There's really no point to give up all that health, so that piece that you might have might be better. For example, like these legs, the Pillars of Might, and the ones I got on called Leggings of Lost Hope. I forget where they drop or who drops them. But anyway, so I would gain 239 armor and I would lose 32 stamina, which is, anyway, so it's not more effective health, so it's a downgrade to put the Leggings of Lost Hope on, or Pillars of Might on, where before Pillars of Might had more effective health and they were a good idea to go. So just be careful. A lot of the armor stuff isn't as good as some other equal item, or even obviously the higher stuff now is a lot better. So just keep that in mind. So let's talk about mastery. A lot of people, on the comments at least, seemed like they were a little confused about it. So I just want to talk about mastery. What mastery does for a protection paladin is it increases your chance to block. Right here, Divine Bulwark. It increases your chance to block. Why is this a big deal? It's because now if you hover over the block tip, it says your block stops 30% of incoming damage. And obviously it's physical damage, so spells don't count. So it stops 30% of incoming damage, whereas before it was just based off of your block value. I want to say block value before on average was about, I don't know, like what, 2K, maybe less, probably like 1,500. Anyway, so it's a huge buff to the block mechanic, huge buff. And if you don't know how Paladins used to work before the Ice Crown dodge nerf came into effect, which is gone now by the way, but when the Ice Crown dodge nerf came into effect, it really just threw the Paladin basic mechanics out the window for block cap, because we just didn't really give a shit about it because there's no way to obtain it. So basically what happens with block now is we're able to achieve block cap, and we're able to, basically what that means is we're able to block every incoming attack if that's the worst thing that's going to happen. That's the worst case scenario. We'll block every attack that's going to happen. Now that doesn't happen. Obviously we're going to dodge, parry, and the boss is going to miss us sometimes as well. So and the way that you figure it out is just a pretty simple formula. You just add your overall avoidance together and then add your block. So your miss is now just a base 5%. So you add your miss, dodge, parry, and block. And I'm not sure if you factor in your crit reduction chance or not. I'm not too sure. I don't think you do, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so you add your miss, dodge, block, parry together, and if that equals 102.4, congrats, you're block capped. Now, why 102.4? Because something that's a level 80 has a 100% chance to hit you. That's pretty obvious, right? Something that's equal to your level has a 100% chance to hit you. Now, something that's 3 levels higher than you, which is what a boss is, all bosses are 3 levels higher, they have a 102.4% chance to hit you. So that means if you achieve overall avoidance plus block of 102.4, you will block every single hit from that boss at worst. So that's awesome because basically you could take 30% of whatever your health is. So I'm 60k with Kings right now. I could take whatever 30% of 60k is, I could add that to my health pool because that's I'm basically guaranteed to reduce every single boss hit by 30%. So that's why Paladins were really overpowered, and that's why they're now again extremely overpowered because we have that 30% shield wall 100% of the time. This is what I talked about in my other videos back when I was updating about Paladins. I was like, are they going to change this? How is it going to work? Well, it looks like Blizzard's going to let it fly for now. I don't know about 85, but it looks like they're going to let it fly for now. So anyway, so the fact that it's 30% damage, I want to just put this in perspective. Our 2 cooldowns that we have right now, granted we get Guardian and Ancient Kings at level 85, so the 2 cooldowns that we have right now are Art Defender, which reduces damage by 20%, and Divine Protection, which reduces physical damage by, I have it glyphed, so it says 0%, but it's 20%, and then if you're glyphed, it's bugged, so it's 20% glyphed physical damage and 40% magical damage. So that bug is going to change probably sometime soon, but as for now, anyway. So your only 2 cooldowns as a Protection Paladin right now give less physical damage reduction than blocking an attack. I just want to put that in perspective. Physical damage, mind you. So that's pretty fucking big. So that basically means if you're not block capped, you are losing you're taking so much more damage than someone who is block capped and can rely on these cooldowns for emergency situations. Basically, if you're not block capped, you're probably using these cooldowns like regularly just to try to stay up and be like, what the fuck, I'm getting shit on. That's because you're probably not block capped. Now, how to go about attaining block cap. First, I want to talk about diminishing returns. Diminishing returns, if you have Tank A and you have Tank B, and Tank A, let's just say Tank A has a 30% dodge. Now Tank B has 20% dodge. Say both tanks obtain an item that gives them 100 dodge rating. So they both obtain an item that gives them 100 dodge rating, and they both equip it. Tank A or Tank B with less dodge is going to see more dodge rating as a percent than Tank A will, because Tank A has more dodge to start with, so his diminishing returns is a lot higher on dodge. So that's basically the general concept behind diminishing returns. The more you have of one thing, the worse it gets, the more you get of it. So, and the reason why a lot of people had more dodge is because parry before 4.0 diminished a lot faster and was a lot worse on diminishing returns than dodge was. So Blizzard knew this and put a lot more dodge on gear to give tanks a little bit more avoidance. So now that they diminish exactly the same, there's almost no point in having more dodge than parry. So the best way to go about getting them equal, because you don't want to have unnecessary item points wasted to diminishing returns. If you really, really wanted to and you don't really give a shit about block cap, which I don't know why you fucking wouldn't after I just talked about that and how important it is, if you really wanted to, you could take that dodge and reforge it into parry. Now what you should do is take that dodge and reforge it into mastery until your parry is equal to your dodge. Now if you're not block capped, what you gotta do is you gotta reforge more gear and keeping those two in line. You want to keep both your dodge and parry line until you reach block cap. So there's no point in having more parry or more dodge now. You want to keep your, so reforge parry until, reforge dodge until your parry is equal. If you're not block capped, you got to reforge them both, and hopefully you can do that. So ideally, you want to be block capped and have the exact same amount of parry and dodge. Now, what happens, say you come across this situation. Say you're reforging your dodge, and great, you reforged your dodge, and your dodge is still higher, but you're block capped. What should you do with the rest of that dodge? Well, you could, if you wanted to and you cared about avoidance, you could reforge that dodge into parry. Or you could reforge that dodge into hit and expertise for more threat. So that's another way to go if you do obtain hit cap and your things still aren't equal. You could either reforge it into the opposite avoidance stat, or you can reforge it for threat, so hit or expertise. But that's basically the general rule of thumb of it is, and I will, the macro, if I didn't post a little annotation, a macro It should be updated. Someone posted one that works. Mine wasn't working for some reason, even though it works in game. So I probably pasted it incorrectly. So I apologize for that. So all you gotta do is post this macro, make the icon, put it on your bar, click it, see what you're at, and basically add any raid buffs or and holy shield. Easy way to do it is just go to a target dummy, get 1 stack of holy power, use either shield of righteousness or what do they call it, last word, and then just pop that macro. So 101.25 for me, and obviously I have last word, which gives me more strength, which gives me more parry. So with that up and holy shield, I'm and mongoose. I'm 103.51 with mongoose and all my avoidance stats. So I'm well over the cap. So that's how you figure out if you're over the cap or not. Just click that macro with holy shield up, and any other buffs that you get in the raid, just take those into account. So that's basically it. That's been a quick 411 on how to reforge for mastery and why it's important. And I will see you guys for the next video. Peace out.